Okay, my friends, I'm telling you, it just doesn't get any better than this. Martian surprise. NASA Perseverance rover makes new discoveries in Mars Jezero crater. Now, this just came out today. This is the 25th of August, and they're going down, and they say that it found on this Jezero crater floor is made up of volcanic rocks that have interacted with water. Now, I have studied Mars deeply since the Curiosity, and let's discuss what is on Mars. Okay, I did extensive work on the chemistry of rocks, studying my mud fossils, and it's the same rocks there as it is here. They're able to do spectrometer readings on the rocks and tell what they're made out of. And in most cases, I'm going to understand precisely what they're made out of. All right, I'm just going to slap you right upside the head with reality. That is tissue from a living creature at one time. That's what's called mucosa. This is what's called interstitium. And these are the anchor balls that were in this wall that have eroded away. Mud forms from the red clays, which are the tissue of the body, and that is precisely what they find in interstitium, which is a layer of tissue in the body. It has the mucosa at the top, which is the separation between you and the rest of the world. In there is the fluid-filled bags of red, fleshy tissues, and these little black balls are the anchors that have settled here. All the red stuff has turned into the mud. Now, that's a slap of reality. And now I'm going to show you what's on Mars. Now, and this is not an isolated incident. It's just everywhere, 100% everywhere. And my stuff is DNA tested. Mine are not nearly as big as this, but one of my giants that I have, and it's a human giant, it's been DNA tested as human. I have the DNA tests. I have the specimens. They can be retested if somebody doesn't believe it. It's anatomically 100% perfect. Still even has a fingerprints on it, 3-foot long fingertip. Now, the Earth was covered with these things. There was giants in the Earth, and then after that, there was more giants. That's what the ancient texts say, and every single culture on Earth says the same thing. Let's see what happened at Mars. All right, this is the first one I saw from the Mars Curiosity. I knew right away what it was because I have the same stuff in my mud fossils. That is an artery, and these little things are the actual blood vessels that service the tissue. That's the return vein comes back up. This right here, all these little tiny layers, now look carefully, down below here is what we were looking at. Right down here is this. You see these blotches of tissue? This is actually tissue. And the red stuff is red mud, clay, blood tissues that have eroded, because that's the erodible stuff. This is the connective tissue in the muscles. You see the breaks on them here and all these little stripes? That's what's called muscle sarcomeres. Now, we need some experts to go against me, because I am an expert at this. I'm more expert at this than anybody in the entire world right now. And if they can come against me and say I'm wrong, I want that done, because I am not wrong. This is exactly what you saw just a minute ago up at the Mars crab. These are the blocks that erode away. They erode here. All those little white and black fibers, when they pull together, that's a pinched muscle. This is an open muscle. The white and the black. One is connective tissue, one is the red, boom, and they pull together. That's why that's all eroded. We can see all these little bitty tiny separations. Little bitty tiny separations. All right? And then the blocks show up as blocks with stripes running through them in both directions. This is somewhere on Earth, I'm not sure exactly where, but these are the muscle connective tissues, and the red stuff is eroding out of it. These are mountains. Now, the reason I know so much about this is I've been doing this for over 10 years of deep research, all the way down to the DNA, to the chemistry, to the reason these things fossilized in the manner that they did and turned into stones. And Mars had the same situation happen to it. And it was caused by almost a near collision of a fiery comet that literally boiled the rivers and so forth. And where I live, it must have been where there was, they boiled these and parboiled all of this fleshy tissue. And then as soon as it dried out, it turned into stone. And I understand the process called nucleophilic substitution. And it's in wet, well, salty, wet conditions. And this muscle, this is tendon, this is muscle, it turned into a stone. This is all the red blood, and that's what the Mars crab is virtually identical to that. Only this one, all the little spits that come out are eroded away. And this would have been filled with blood and had little bits and pieces of those blood vessels coming to service all this tissue. So there's the Mars crab and the Mars muscle and what I just showed you, the sarcomeres. What I just showed you is in my shop, and this is what would happen to it if it was continuously left in aqueous solutions. They become invaded by different colored minerals and metals. That's why you see these different colors. And this was in the ocean, so it's been in acids and salts and so forth for a very, very long time, and all of the other stuff around it eroded away. These are all layers of tissue. All layers of tissue, not millions of years of sediments. They don't understand it whatsoever. This is muscle, and this is layers of membranes. The creatures were astronomically large. They were literally the Earth, and they are in space, and they are on Mars. So don't forget, there's the Mars crab. That was an artery. All these little blood vessels service the tissue around it. And as I showed you before, these are the sarcomeres. This blood vessel serviced all of those muscle tissues. And all of the connective tissues are left. And the eroded away stuff is this right here, is the red planet's red bloody dust. All right, you saw that first picture showing the mucosa and all of that fabric-y stuff in between, which is called the interstitium. This is it right here. All of these balls are the anchors. You see these straps stretching? That's because this ball has a strap that will elongate, and that's how your body moves, and your skin and everything can twist and bend, and all around your organs has the same stuff. And that allows everything to move in your body and come back to stability, which is like up at the top area here. This is basically not stretched, not pulled either. This is pinched. This one here is pinched. That's pulled apart, and that's pulled apart. Now, because on Mars, there's virtually no really watery atmosphere like we have here, rain, you get sandblasted instead of eroded. That's what happened right there. This is the Mars Morse code, they call it. That is interstitium from a gigantic creature's body. Okay, some more stuff from Mars. Mars blueberries. Again, 2015, 2014, the Curiosity. I followed this from the second it landed. They started showing all these pictures, then they just dropped all this stuff. And I've been trying to show this for the last 5 years, over and over and over, and I'm having a hard time getting anybody paying attention. But this is on Mars. They're called the Mars blueberries. Look it up, and look up the Moki marbles. Let me show you those. Those are here on Earth. Just so you know, all these gigantic balls they're finding all over the Earth, they're nothing more than tendon anchors, the same thing as the Moki marbles. You see these are the kind of Moki marbles. They're coated with some kind of a metal, but that's the anchor balls. All right, here it is. This is here on Earth. These are the same things as the Mars blueberries, only there's a ton of them here, all laid out over the top of the basement layer of tissue. This was a membrane, and it was stretchable this way and that way, because this is the interstitium. This is the red eroded muddy clay that comes off of that interstitial layer. These are the anchor balls. Now they're all just loose rolling around. The creatures were gigantic. The earth, there was giants in the earth in those days, and after that there was more giants. That's what I have found, and I can stand up in front of anybody with my evidence. So DNA tested, human fingertip. It came back human. This is the little pad at the back of the fingertip bone that rocks on the next finger. This is the actual fingernail, and it is in pretty good shape. A little bit eroded here. You got blood vessels coming in and out, artery and vein. Over here was the grip skin, which is like on the same as your finger. There's just barely away from your fingernail starts your fingerprints. And that's what I did. I smacked it with a hammer and it fell right off of there. Which is, the skin is completely separated in your fingers and toes. Grip skin. Let me show you. It's like Velcroed on. All right, this was the thing I popped off of there. I mean, it's got the same fingerprints. It's got the sweat pores. It is, and this is all DNA tested and so forth. So it's completely 100% validated, and it was excellent quality DNA because I had to take this off. You see, this is keratinized. You can't get blood out of that. No blood's going to come out of it. You got to get down inside here, and it's saturated with blood. And I took it out, and it was excellent quality. So this, my finger is one fingerprint ridge wide. All right, so this is about 3 feet long, this fingernail. This is this fingertip. Now, this is on my property, and I have many more than this. It's not just this one. It just happens that this one particular area, they were so perfectly preserved. It had to be, I'm thinking it was probably a river area or a lake area where they actually literally boiled in the lake and tried some, I don't know what else to think other than that. This one particular area, well, it's so preserved, it's unbelievable. Look at this. This is a lung. That's a human lung. That's also been DNA tested. It's a human lung. And it was saturated with blood. I drilled a hole. All you have to do is drill a little pinhole deep into where the blood is, and you get blood. And actually, I got blood. And when I sent it off, I sent 3 tests, and they stand behind the tests. I was the one that did the extractions. They tested my extractions, and they stand behind the tests. Absolutely, exactly what they say it was, human blood. See how much blood's inside these fingertips? They're saturated with blood. But the grip skin seals it in there. You can't get it out. So you got to break the skin off, get underneath and drill down, which I did. Now, again, perfect preservation here. My buddy Caesar is a goose. You see that? That's his feathers in the back. All of these things died flat as a pancake on one side and perfectly preserved on the other. I mean flawlessly. And this is feldspar. Feldspar is nothing more than collagen, which is invaded by aluminum silicates in this salty, hot, floody waters. And then they must have been washed off with some clean stuff to stop the invasion, and then they just dried out in situ. And that's they're all on the top of the earth. I didn't have to dig for this stuff. It's all over the place, and some of them it's actually blood. This has been out of the ground actually 10 years too. It's just like something you could throw on a grill. All right, so we know that everything preserves in this manner. Mars has the same exact stuff. We could see the blood. We could see everything. You saw the sarcomeres. You saw the Mars blueberries. You saw the Mars crab. You saw the Mars Morse code. It's all identical to Earth. Earth still has water, though. Mars water is virtually gone. That's what's causing it to be the red, dusty planet, because it's all red, eroded flesh. Okay, this is nothing more than the interstitium and the gooey stuff they think is lava, and then these balls, which they think somehow form. Well, these are the interstitium balls, and this is the interstitium layer, and this red stuff is the interstitial fluid that has eroded and dried off. So I think I've proven my case here. I think they should look at the things that I'm showing rather than walk around in circles. I can help them with their understanding of what they're looking at. I have done the work. It's been 10 years because this is exactly identical to the same stuff here on Earth. And the size of the creatures is astronomically gigantic. I cannot account for that other than that's what it said in the ancient texts, and they appear now to have been pretty damn accurate. To some degree. I'm not saying everything that was ancient text was written, but they knew about giants. They knew about dragons. They knew about all of the crazy things that we laughed at. And they knew, and that's why they wrote so much about it. All right, you got to look into Velikovsky. I wrote a book about him because he was the hero that went back and researched all of the ancient texts into what he could determine. Now, I've gone a lot deeper than he did. I have all the specimens. I have DNA tested. I have the specimens. They can be rechecked. Anything you want to do. So I can prove what I'm saying. And Mars is the same as Earth. It was biological at one time. Everything in space, it's Comet 67P. I've got deep details on that. They landed a lander on that. It took samples. Everything's biological. They know that now, and they just have no way to account for it. So they sort of fluff it off and just continue to say, "Oh, we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to figure that out." Well, let's see what we have figured out, and then see what we can figure out from what we already figured out. Okay, I did the video on changing the way we teach students to interact with the things I'm showing, which is reality. It's been shoved under the carpet, and they keep asking the same questions over and over and refusing to investigate what's been already established. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to teach the kids and give them the education they deserve. These teachers are right. It's time to change the way they teach. All right, so once again, we got to give the kids the education they deserve. Now, I think, especially in inner cities and places like that, where you can get the kids together in some renovated building, that you could give them the paint and the stuff to fix up the building, put some counters in, a little cooking work table in the center, teach them how to cook, teach them some skills. A machine shop and a garage may be attached so they can understand how machines work and how to fix things that are broken. And then you'd have all these little booth areas inside where they could sort of mill around and watch the videos. And these could be just cheap, even the old cassette players you could use. All you'd have to do is put them on CDs or anything. Places don't have the infrastructure for high speed, all kind of places and internet going on and all this business, and you don't need it. I will make videos of everything that right now is currently a problem, and that's everything. And after that, we will examine what mainstream says compared to the things I say. And then the kids themselves can make their own determination and move forward. This will be the core education. You'll see both sides of it. It won't be just one-sided. Whenever I do it, I show both sides. I say, here's what they say, here's what I say, here's what they say, here's what I say. Now, cooking, I don't do. But somebody's going to have to cook stuff and make things and understand ingredients and preservation and refrigeration. I mean, there's a lot to cooking. It's not just you throw it in a pan and have a nice day. Now, the other thing is machine shops. You can fix stuff. I was a fixer. I fixed things my whole life. As a matter of fact, when I was, I had a business and I fixed electronic equipment and sold it and fixed it and all that stuff. And I was with my son. He was about 6 years old. I can't remember. It was a computer store somewhere. And he was about 6 years old. And he walks up to some other little kid about 6 years old. He says, "Hi, my name's Max. This is my dad, Roger. He's a fixer." It was the cutest thing I ever saw. I'll never forget it. But that's what I was. I was a fixer, and I still am. I don't want to say, I don't come just bitching about things. Say, well, that's weird. Well, yes, I do. But then I say, here's how we should deal with this. And I need responses to these things. I can't do this by myself. I get nowhere. I've been 10 years of screaming in the woods. It's time for people to stand up, and this is the perfect time. Teachers are going on a strike. They don't have enough teachers. They feel they can't stand up for themselves either. they can't. I have a lot of teachers that have contacted me and said, I'd love to teach your stuff. As a matter of fact, I brought a laptop in, I showed the kids. I was intimidated. And the kids get intimidated too. I've had them say, they told me not to talk about this stuff. I must be crazy, and a word to the wise, da da da, that kind of stuff. It's intimidation, basically. Don't bring that stuff here. Now, I can understand if there was no evidence to support the things I say, but I've shown you there is evidence. So it's time to change things. That's the email. If I can get some people behind some kind of a network. I can't do this. I'm too old to get involved in this much more than I am. I can do the research. I love to do the content, but that's my extent. All right? I love you all.